Have you ever noticed that your body knows before your mind does? Welcome to the Whispering Soul. My name is Nancy Vellante, and I'm an astrologer and certified wellness coach, and I'm grateful that you're here. So, before we start, let's take a moment to arrive, allowing yourself to settle into this space just as you are. So let's take a slow breath together as we inhale through our nostrils. We inhale that breath in through the pelvis, through the belly, through the solar plexus, up through the heart space, the throat, all the way into the third eye and all the way up through the top of the head, the crown. As you exhale, let that breath just wash over you, aligning you to yourself, whatever that is in this moment, right here, right now. Feel your feet on the ground and just breathe naturally. So, before the mind creates a story, the body has already whispered the truth. We've all felt this because we feel tension before we can name it. We feel peace before we can explain it. The body is often the first language of the soul. And when I teach yoga or when I'm teaching a workshop with astrology or any kind of energy, I always go to the language of the body, that somatic feeling of truth. The body never lies. Perhaps that is why this week's astrology really feels so profound. It's hard to put your finger on it this week because the universe is asking us to feel through the body of our senses, our intuition, our truth. It isn't asking us to think harder, although I've done that this week. Well, then you gotta like reflect and reel it in, right? It is inviting us to listen more deeply. So let's begin with the sky. Between July 15th and July 24th, the heavens formed a rare, sacred geometric pattern known as Barbeau's basket, sometimes called the cosmic cradle. And you can go on the internet and research Andrea Barbeau. He was a mundane astrologer. I love the symbolism of both names. A basket gathers what is scattered. I love that. You know, it's like Little Red Riding Hood going through the woods, picking this, picking that, putting it in the basket, bringing it back to center, only sometimes to find out, whoops, that's intense. So then we retract back and we pick some more and we gather. A cradle gently holds what is still becoming, like holding a child, a newborn. Neither forces growth. That's hard in a world that's moving so fast and that wants goals and actions right at our fingertips now, right? We all do that. Again, coming back to the listening of one's alignment with soul. Both create a container where transformation can unfold in its own time. Isn't that great? Its own time. It's so hard for us humans to do that. I know it is for me. Just looking at my chart a lot of times, I like to move fast. I have a Sagittarius rising, so it's like, yeah, let's go. It's good to pull on those reins sometimes, slow the horse down. As I sat in this pattern of this week, I found myself reflecting on how beautifully it mirrors our own human experience. Life is multifaceted. It's like a diamond. You could look here, you could look there, you can turn it. It's pretty amazing. And so are we. We're part of that diamond. Each of us carries many different parts of ourselves, our joy and our grief, our courage and our fear. our confidence, and our uncertainty. We carry memories that have shaped us, relationships that have changed us, and experiences that have taught us what it means to love, to lose, to protect ourselves, and to begin again. And in my opinion and perspective, we don't lose that because we're here on this planet of duality. Yes, we can find a still point, we can find the 0 point, we can find neutrality, but we still are dealing with the opposites. And that's what gives life to us here. Perhaps this cosmic cradle is asking us to hold all of those parts with greater compassion, which leads us into the heart. Relationships are dynamic because people are dynamic. We are constantly evolving. Sometimes our hearts are open, sometimes they become guarded. Rightfully so. The ego is not something to conquer or eliminate. We can't. We'd be a noodle. It is a necessary part of being human. It helps us develop our individuality and navigate the world. From the heart, though, right? From a place of humbleness, curiosity, warmth. But when the ego is driven by old wounds, abandonment, comparison, jealousy, fear, or the need of constant validation, I've experienced every single one of those. It quietly begins to separate us from ourselves and from one another. I feel that deeply in my bones. Those protective patterns once served a purpose. Yes, they did. They helped us survive. Yet there comes a moment when survival is no longer enough. Growth begins by asking a different question. What have we forgotten? Or perhaps, or even gentler question, let me rephrase, what has your heart been trying to remember? I had to pause there for a minute to feel that myself again and again and again. To me, this is where astrology becomes alive. I really love it. The planets are not here to control us. Absolutely not. And I will stand by that. In body, mind, and soul. They don't determine our choices. We do. They illuminate patterns within our collective and personal consciousness, which is really happening this week in a very sacred way, rare way. They invite awareness. They encourage reflection. They remind us that every season offers an opportunity to grow into a more authentic relationship with ourselves first and foremost. This week's cosmic cradle feels like an invitation to come back into right relationship with our hearts, our communities, and with life itself. Can we sit at the table with different perspectives without losing our humanity? That's a big question this day and age right now. Can we? Is that where the listening is? Is that where the alignment is? Can we remain curious when certainty feels safer? That's where I'm at this week. Can I remain curious? Oh, but I want that certainty that feels a lot safer, that feels a lot grounded. Really? That might be the illusion of Neptune this week. In Aries, asking us to let's come into the body and really feel and empower thyself with curiosity. Uranus in Gemini, through communication, through saying, I'm sorry, that communication was not clear. Let's try it again, or let me come from a different angle. Because I want to make it so it's right. But if you don't have the two people there or the group there to make it right, it's hard to do it by yourself. The communication within a community. Pluto in Aquarius, wanting to break apart what doesn't work anymore, what feels old and toxic. Underneath the rubble of what Pluto is trying to transform lies a new ground of building. Building through community, building through our humanity, understanding and being okay with what doesn't work anymore. Coming from the heart, Jupiter and Leo. These are all the planets and archetypes that are involved in this cosmic cradle. Jupiter and Leo. How do we take the ego of I want to be seen, I want to be heard, me, Leo in a lower vibration, bringing it back to the heart of, yeah, I do want to be seen, but I want to be seen because I want to connect with you. I want your light to shine, because if your light shines, my light shines. Can we listen? Not to prepare our response, but to genuinely understand. Listening becomes the alignment. Listening becomes the prayer. Which brings me to the body remembers. When we pause, return to the breath, and soften into the heart, something begins to shift. Miscommunication softens. Fear loosens its grip. Curiosity replaces judgment. And the body begins to relax. The nervous system begins to come back online, that parasympathetic nervous system, instead of fight or flight. The vagus nerve can reset. Because before the mind creates another story, darn that mind, the body has already whispered the truth, a little faster than the mind. The body knows. When we ignore those whispers, and I have, you have, we all have, the mind fills the silence with familiar narratives, stories born from fear, comparison, attachment. Again, the need to protect ourselves. Yet the body continues to invite us home without judgment, only with love. Because what is deep, deep inside is pure self-love. When we find it, when we accept it, when we own it, when we embrace it. One breath, one heartbeat, one quiet moment at a time. The soul is very patient. It never stops whispering. Oh no. The earth. Perhaps this is how a new earth begins. You know, we talk a lot about the new earth. Not about being separate, but about making choices and holding those choices together. So there's not judgment, but again, curiosity. Opinions, okay, I'll go, yeah. Not through perfection, not through everyone agreeing, because that would be boring. How would we learn? But through relationships that are willing to remain present. Through conversations that create space for different perspectives. Through remembering that every person we meet is carrying a story. We may never fully know that story. Curiosity creates connection. I love that. I love that. Fear creates separation. Fear creates separation. Love creates possibility. The tension many of us have felt during this cosmic cradle, of Uranus in Gemini, Pluto in Aquarius, Neptune in Aries, Jupiter in Leo. Jupiter we can still see. It's not quite as outer planets as the other three. It isn't necessarily something to escape. Sometimes tension is simply the space where something new is trying to be born. You know, giving birth as a woman. It's not easy. For some women it is, for some it's not. Again, there's no one way. There's many ways. The ancient teachings have always reminded us that light and shadow were never meant to compete with each other. They were meant to inform one another. Without darkness, we would never recognize the stars. We wouldn't be able to see them, right? Without our wounds, we might never awaken our capacity to love more deeply again. The work is not about choosing light over shadow. It's about integrating both with compassion. Jupiter and Leo, the highest vibration of that signature. And it takes time to get there. Because whatever Jupiter touches, whether it's light or it's dark, it's going to expand it. Because there's a lesson, there's a learning, there's an integration, there's a healing. Walk through the fire of the heart. Walking through the fire of the heart doesn't destroy us. It refines us. It reminds us that self-worth does not come from approval. And that's a hard one. I have a moon in Libra, and, that moon in Libra, I have it in the 10th house, and I've often said I'm like the emperor or the empress with no clothes on, right? I'm really out there in the world with my emotions. And, who doesn't want approval when you're there? I mean, that's my whole life, and that's what I've been working on and really integrating into the soul of my being, into the landscape of my emotions. And it goes up and down depending on what the situations are, right? But as long as you become conscious of it, it doesn't last as long. You can spiral through those kind of situations that you come into with your birth chart. It comes from remembering who we are beneath the stories we carry. And that's kind of what I just talked about with my own moon, and my own, struggles and epiphanies and beautiful experiences that I've had in my own life, is the stories we carry lie beneath. I'm going to think about that one a lot today. So this brings me to something that I thought that I would do. I don't know about every podcast, but this one seems like a good one to do it. And I want to do a soul practice, something that you can walk away with, because, this week, a little bit of last week, it's not, let's put it this way. What a great time to be alive. This is a rare, sacred geometry space that we're in, geometric space that we're in. And let's try to make the most out of it. Some days might be better than others with it, with this. Sorry, but that's the emotions. And not unfortunately. Let me reframe that. Fortunately, in a way, that's how we dance in this lifetime. So it's fortunate that we have emotions if we allow them to move, because they will move. But we do hold on to them, because that's about being human, that's about learning, okay? So I want to do this soul practice. As you move through the coming days, I want to invite you into a simple practice. Before responding to a conversation, Before reacting to something you read, before judging yourself, pause. Place your hand over your heart. I'm going to do that right now. And one hand on your belly. And take 3 slow breaths, because that is the best thing that we have going for us is our breath. Let's do that together. Let's take 3 slow breaths. Inhale through your nostrils, all the way from the pelvis, all the way up through your spine, till you reach the top of the head. Open your mouth slightly with the sound of. And again, right from there, sip that breath back up. Inhale through the pelvis, all the way up through the belly, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, crown. Exhale with the sound of. One more together if you can, a little deeper. If you can't, that's okay. And right when you reach the top, pause. Exhale through your mouth. Ask yourself, what is my body telling me before my mind creates a story? Mine does that so fast. Darn. Oof. Don't rush to answer. Simply notice. Sometimes the greatest wisdom arrives in the quiet spaces between our thoughts, the in-between, the cracks. I love them. That's where the medicine is. Perhaps this is the true gift of Barbeau's basket, the cosmic cradle. Not that it gives us all the answers, because it doesn't. Nothing does. But that it creates a sacred container where our hearts can remember what our souls have always known. So thank you for spending this time with me today. This podcast really means a lot to me, because we are in a really amazing time in the next couple of months. So until next time, may you listen with curiosity. May you meet yourself with compassion. May you trust the wisdom of your own body. And may you remember that before the mind creates a story, the soul has already whispered the truth. So in love, in remembrance, and in unity, consciousness, I wish you a beautiful day or night wherever you are in the world, and I look forward to connecting with you all again. And one last thing. Astrology doesn't ask us to become someone else. It invites us to remember who we've always been.